Okay, the numbers have been tallied, and the Nintendo Switch 2 has sold 10.36 million units in the 4 months between its June 5th launch date and September the 30th. I'm looking at this Polygon report here from our old friend Ollie Welsh. He's saying it's selling twice as fast as the Switch managed. In the equivalent period. That was 4.7 million units. It's outstripped PlayStation 5, which sold 7.8 million during its first 2 quarters. That took 8 months to reach 10 million sales. So, yeah, what can I say? A massive success story for the Switch 2. There was also the interesting statistic that 84% of those 10.36 million had essentially upgraded from Switch 1 rather. It's a resounding success. We kind of saw this happening, right, John? But congratulations to Nintendo, I guess.
I'm genuinely relieved, actually. This is fantastic news because 1, it shows consoles are still viable. People want them. 2, Nintendo, even with the game key card stuff, they're still the one pushing physical media the hardest. So that makes me happy, of course. 3, I know the game industry itself put a lot of their chips on the Switch, and the Switch 2 not being a success would have caused a significant amount of damage. It really needed to succeed for the health of the industry for developers. So very relieved for them as well. Clearly, I mean, even with Nintendo's messaging sometimes feeling a bit weird at times, and still like afraid to commit to Switch 2, it was always like, we got this new Switch, but the Switch 1's still good, guys. It's still good. They still managed to sell a ton. And I think part of it is also they did an exceptional job with manufacturing this time. Yep. Aside from Japan, where it's been hard to get one, Switch 2 is readily available. When you go to any shop here in Germany, for instance, you find dozens of consoles just ready to buy. With PS5 and even Xbox Series X, like for the first year, you just didn't see them on the shelves. Like I think PS5, it took almost 2 years before I would just readily see them at stores. Like they could not keep up with them. It was hard to get those machines, and that was often the case with new consoles. But I feel like Nintendo's what seemed like a very late launch for the system was probably put to good use in terms of just getting all their manufacturing in order and just ensuring that the market had enough Switch 2s to basically keep the people that wanted it fed. And they've done that, right? Like even though there's a lot in store, they're moving tons and tons of units. So it's a really nice situation to be in, I think, for them. And it sets it up for a long life, just like the original Switch, I think, where it's like, all right, we're off to like this incredibly fast start. Units are just flying off the shelves. The Switch 1 is also on the cusp of being the highest selling Nintendo console of all time. Getting ready to just overcome the DS and on its way to hitting those PS2 numbers. We'll see, maybe. It's good. And it's just the beginning, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be more variants as well, I assume. Hopefully, come on, Nintendo, let's get that OLED variant out sooner than later.
It's going to be later. Sorry.
I know.
Alex, I think going into this with the Switch 2, the challenge, I guess, for Nintendo was to actually produce a machine that, felt like something tangibly different as opposed to just a faster Switch 2. Sorry, Switch 1 rather. And yet that's kind of what they delivered. And yet it still sold 10 million units. And it has become what Ollie Welsh describes as the biggest console launch ever. So, yeah, kind of job done. And,
They did a good job. I mean, looking at it with the DLSS video, they can at least bring down ports of current-gen console games there, even ones that we think are very taxing. At least ones that supported 60 FPS from their outset. That's probably one of the enabling factors there. But I think the Switch 2 doing so well and Xbox doing so poorly, though, is interesting because there's going to be, I think, as a result of that, just a lot more ports to Switch 2 because it's going to have a larger addressable market.
Right.
I don't know. Like it's going to be pretty quick. There's going to be more Switch 2s than all the Xbox Series consoles. It's not going to take too long. In that case, it's going to be interesting to see what other things they're going to start bringing there. Heavy hitter games, games that we would traditionally not assume that they get a day and date version. Like, I'm very interested to see if they do bring a Call of Duty, like kind of was promised as part of the whole Activision Blizzard thing, which really hasn't manifested yet. I would be really curious to see what that looks like, because they're still bringing out really junky Xbox and PlayStation 4 versions of those games. But surely they could bring out a Switch 2 with a much more modern GPU and more memory and a reasonably similar, if not better in some ways, CPU.
Whoa.
What?
Alex, you're getting ahead of yourself.
I mean, I really think that there could be a lot more Switch 2 ports. I'm not even a Switch 2 fan, but I mean, I see it as a right market for people to make more money in. But yeah, I think that these good new numbers lean into that future.
Mm-hmm. We got a question here from Skyrim Fest 26 in brackets AI upscaled. Switch 2 has apparently sold over 10 million units, which sounds like a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot. It is a lot. Don't worry. Are all these fancy PC handhelds, including Xbox X, Ally X, Xbox, and the rumored Vita Mark II, just competing for the crumbs left on Nintendo's table? I still think, I'm sure you agree with me on this one, John, but Nintendo is kind of like in its own area. And these PC handhelds, and indeed the Xbox X, Ally X, Xbox, and even the Vita 2 are probably in a completely different category to what Nintendo are doing. I don't think it's comparable, really. Vita Mark II, possibly.
The Sony handheld, I don't know if it'll really be comparable, but I think they want to try to get in better with Japanese gamers, at least, because that's where the Switch especially is huge, which is why it has such gigantic support from Japanese developers still. But yeah, the other ones, I think it's considered a different thing somehow.
Yep.
And I think really it's, as always with Nintendo hardware, it's Nintendo that drives it. People buy Nintendo hardware to play Nintendo games, and then they get into the platform and then they start buying other stuff as well. And that's typically what drives it. Mm-hmm. It's the software.
Yeah.
And the hardware is sleek. It's a very nicely built little piece of hardware. It's it's big, but it's easier to carry around in your bag than like a Steam Deck or those Windows handhelds, because it's not nearly as thick. Although that does have an impact on ergonomics, to be fair. But still, it's at least more comfortable than the Switch 1 at this point. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know.
I still don't think they're comparable, really. It's kind of like those handhelds on the PC side are essentially a bolt-on addition, whereas the Switch 2 is the core of the entire ecosystem, I think.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
There's a seamlessness there that you just can't get with a PC, right? It's so simple to just plug that thing, just drop it in the dock. It's just instantly on the screen. There's no fussing about. Pull it out, and you're still playing the game. Everything works exactly as you'd want it to. It's a very, very smooth experience, and you can still just buy a game at a store and just go.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, which is really nice. And at least Nintendo themselves, for their first party games, has not adopted the game key card. Mm-hmm. So you can count on them to always, deliver the full game on a card.